Hello and welcome. Welcome to Quilt Conversations Live. I'm Geraldine Wilkins, the Living Water Quilter, and I'm so glad that you're with me for another live chat, another live conversation. Welcome, Cassie. Hello. So glad you're here. Hello, Marcia. Nice to see you, Rochelle. Welcome, welcome. So glad that you're here. Oh, thank you. There's the jacket right there. How is everyone? Can you believe that it is March already? It's March. Wow. I am excited to be with you. We're going to talk about quilted jackets. But before we do, I bet you're wondering, would you like a recap from QuiltCon? Would you like to know what happened at QuiltCon? I want to share with you. I'm excited to share with you. Thank you, Cassie in Cleveland, Ohio. Wonderful. Aloha, Lori. How are you? And aloha to those watching on the replay. We're glad you're here too. If you have questions, you can always leave a comment below the video. We are live on Facebook and we are live on YouTube. Yes, Lori says a recap. Phelan says recap and Copper says recap. All right, let's get started. Recap QuiltCon. Let's take a look. Hello, Jazzy. How are you? So glad you're here. So let's first start with the classroom. I had 20 Bernina sit down long arms in my classroom, and every seat was full for all the classes. Thursday, I taught 2 ruler classes. Friday, 2 more ruler classes. Saturday was 1 ruler class, but it was a full day, 6 hours, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. And then Sunday was 1 3 hour class. Copper says, I see my Q20. Yes, the machines were fantastic, but more than that, the students were fantastic. It was so much fun. I prefer the 6 hour, but the 3 hour allows me to meet more ladies, and I met so many wonderful ladies who have been here on Quilt Conversations Live, who are on my email list, who've been to my classes, so who follow me on social media. So that was fantastic. We took selfies and we worked really hard. Yes, we worked really, really hard. And my hope is, and I believe many of them purchased machines, and many of them were first time ruler quilters. All my classes were ruler quilting. And if you can see in the photo, there's some samples at the top. What I did for every class, there were 4 different classes. I made a beautiful sister quilt block and I quilted it with the ruler for that specific class. So I'm going to share that with you really quick. Let me show you. Here is one. This was the hexagon class called Hex Not Want Not. And so I showed how you could use the hexagon in a creative way on a quilt, and specifically a quilt block. And I have that right here. Let me show it to you. I want to show it to you with the overhead camera too, because I think that's fun to see. So I love to show them whole cloth examples of the designs, but also we want to look at specifically some of the quilting that you can do on an actual quilt block. Because you know that I say practice on a quilt sandwich, then practice on a quilt block, then practice on a quilt when you're learning a technique or a new tool. So this is a fun way to look at it. I don't think you can see the quilting in the back, but it's quilted with the hexagon shape all the way around. The black thread kind of blends in. Let's see. So the next one, let's go back to host view. Let me see. I'm going to go back to this one right here. All right. So the next one was the dots to dots. That was the other class that I taught. And it was using a special template that is a circle with a straight line. It's called a snowflake template. And we'll go to the overhead camera with that as well. I really loved and enjoyed this class. This was a fun class to teach how you can quilt really fun designs, even apply it to a real quilt, a quilt block in this case. This is what it looks like on the back. Hopefully you can see some of those designs there. So this is the dot to dot. Looks like lollipops. Yes, exactly. Yes. So that was fun. Dot to dot. That was another 3-hour class. And then we did what I call diamond facets. We used 4 different, it's a template that has 4 different sizes on it. And they're 4 different angles. And you can take those angles and create different designs. And here's an example where I incorporated 2 angles in the one pattern. This is a full edge to edge design. Hopefully you can see that. Let me turn it around to the other side so you can see some of that, the design that is, this is from Diamond Facets. And I show how you can do this so easily. It looks complicated, but you can do it on a sit down long arm or a domestic machine. So I loved that. So that was QuiltCon. Those are the classes that I taught. Here it is in an image form. We had so much fun. Now, you know that also QuiltCon was when the beautiful sister quilt debuted. So Sherry says she really likes the snowflake template. Thank you. And it looks like um what did she say? Lollipops. Yes. Some of the designs I actually called lollipops. So that's a good look at it. Are the rulers or templates for sale? You can always buy these. I use 2 different brands of templates. I use Westerly Design templates, and I use a company called Quilter's Rule. Quilter's Rule. I can, let me see. I don't have the links for that right now, but the Westerly templates are sewsteady.com, and the Quilter's Rule are quiltersrule.com. So, the chevrons were from the hexagon template. Exactly. So we had each class had at least 9 to 10 different designs. And they were block based designs, edge to edge designs, sashing, and borders. The other thing was that the Beautiful Sister quilt made its public debut at QuiltCon, and it was in the So Creative Lounge booth. How exciting, right? I love that it was on display. It looked fantastic. And we had a lot of ladies come out to see the quilt. Hello, Denise. Welcome. So glad that you're here. Um, Also, So Creative Lounge created a fabric kit that included all 5 silhouettes and all the fabric needed to make the quilt. And several ladies decided to purchase the quilt. Now, I had the opportunity prior to going to QuiltCon to be on a podcast. It's called Stitch Please Podcast, and it's by Black Women Stitch. She was here a couple of weeks ago, here live. We did an interview and we talked about QuiltCon and the Beautiful Sister Quilt. And so that podcast, if you haven't listened to it, it's Stitch Please. Wherever you listen to your podcast, just put in the search Stitch Please and look for my episode. My episode is 168. You can listen to my interview, and I got a chance to talk about the Beautiful Sister Quilt. And that podcast actually went live Wednesday, the day before QuiltCon. QuiltCon started on Thursday. Oh, you're so sweet, Lori. Thank you for that compliment. That's so kind of you to say. Oh, great. You listened to the interview, Sherry. Fantastic. I'm so glad. Awesome. Yay. Oh, thank you, Sherry. So glad you like it. Wonderful. And speaking of the quilt, here are some ladies who purchased the quilt kit with all the fabric. I got a chance to take a picture with them. It was so fun to meet many of these ladies who watch Quilt Conversations live. I was ecstatic and I was excited that they wanted to make a beautiful sister quilt. Now, the pattern for the quilt and the pattern for the quilt block were only available at QuiltCon. But now they are both available on a new website that I created, Beautiful Sister Quilt. The link is in the chat. I put a link in the chat on Facebook and on YouTube. So you can get the Beautiful Sister Quilt pattern and the silhouettes as a kit. You have to get the additional fabric that you need to make the quilt or the quilt block. The kit includes the block pattern or the quilt pattern with 5 panels, 5 8x10 panels. So I'm excited that they are now available on the website for purchase. You can check out that link if you're interested. This is for the quilt block. Like the quilt blocks I just showed you, these quilt blocks, if you want to make the quilt block, you can make this quilt block. You can make this quilt block. It comes in a pattern, all the different sizes that you need for the fabric. Everything is included. So you get 5 panels in both. If it's the block only, you still get 5 panels. If it's the quilt, you get 5 panels. So that is now available on a website. Now, I wanted to share with you that we are going to have tonight a special guest. And he should be coming on any moment now. He is the designer behind the jacket. His name is Scorpio, and he's supposed to sign in and join me around 7:15, which is in a minute, he is going to join us and talk about how we got together. And we're going to do a little interview. Yes, Cookie is becoming famous. I told my sister to hold on. Yes. Did they have sisters too? I'm not sure what your question is. Oh, great, Phelan. I'm so glad. Hey, Roz, welcome. Roz, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. Awesome. Thank you, Roz. How are you? Yes, so Scorpio, I'll give you a little preview. He is a Bernina ambassador. And we met last January at the Bernina Ambassador Retreat. And so during dinner, we had a fabulous conversation. I was telling him about the things that were coming up for Living Water Quilter. And for me, of course, that was QuiltCon. I showed him the beautiful sister quilt and the fabric that I was in the beginning stages of designing, and he loved it. He said, I want to make you a jacket. I want to make you my bomber jacket. And I was like, really? You want to make me a jacket? So who am I to argue, right? So I sent him the fabric. I sent him different variations, different colors, different sizes of the silhouette, and I left it to his creativity to combine the different fabrics into one jacket. And he decided to change his pattern just a little bit. Hopefully, he's going to come on soon. He hasn't signed in yet. I'm checking the interview mode. So he decided to take a denim jacket and upcycle it with the beautiful sister fabric. So he made the collar denim, the cuffs are denim, and the trim, or where the snaps are, the buttons are all denim. Yes, his pattern, he is a McCall's designer. He has his patterns inside of McCall's. I went and got my own copy. Matter of fact, it's right here. Let me show it to you. So this is the pattern that he used. His name is Scorpio. His brand is Sins of Many, and it's called the Know Me by Mimi. Those are the patterns for him. It's under the Know Me brand. Sins of Many. This is the jacket pattern that he used, the bomber jacket. He changed it up a little bit. Remember, he put denim instead of the elastic on the bottom. He does a waist and he does a 3/4. So most of his patterns are for men, but you can always turn a jacket, right, into a women's jacket. We can wear a men's jacket. So as we wait for him, I'm going to show you the beautiful sister pattern. Yes, he's the model for the pattern too. I like the idea too of upcycling a jacket with denim, taking something that we already own and then cutting off the parts that we want. I can't wait to talk to him about that process. Yes, handsome too. So here is the beautiful sister quilt block pattern. It gives you how much fabric you need on the back. And when you get it, you are going to have all 5 panels on the inside, one of each color. One of each color. So if you don't want to make the whole quilt, but you want to make a quilt block or use them for something else, you certainly can do that. And then on the inside, you'll see all the instructions, a little bio info. You get a layout to show you the placement of the fabrics. You get it in 2 different formats. So you can take a look there. Hopefully Scorpio is going to come on soon. Oh, I wonder if he sent me an email that he can't get on. Let me check my email real quick on my phone. Let's see. Um, nope, no email, nothing from him. Cancel. Let's see. Nothing so far. I hope he didn't forget. We were just talking yesterday about it, and yesterday he sent me some fabulous photos of his jacket. He's made that same bomber jacket in different ways. So while we're waiting for him, let's talk about quilted jackets and coats. Now, the one that he made for me, this one here, it is not quilted, but I want to make one of his pattern that's quilted. Have you ever made a quilted jacket? Let us know in the chat if you've made any type of quilted clothing, garments, jackets. I know it's a trend that you're seeing it in high fashion these days, runways and such. Let's see. Okay, nothing yet. Um, who has made? You never made one, but your friend did. Okay. They were really nice. It's been in the back of my mind on my list of things to do to try to make a shawl that's quilted or to make a jacket. And I like something with a button in the front, but I also like something that you can pull over. That would be a neat jacket. Now, of course, if you love quilting like I do, ruler quilting and free motion quilting, it's a fun time to play, right? So the Beautiful Sister fabric, I've also made big 1 yard panels of just the silhouette itself. And I plan to quilt that and make it into a jacket. A chenille. So Marcia says she would love to do something quilted. And I wanted to get hints from Scorpio about the best way to augment his pattern into a quilted jacket. So Sherry, she's made one starting with a sweatshirt as a base. Now, I thought about that too. I actually got a pattern at a quilt show once. I thought that because I'm not a garment sewer. How many of you sew garments? Let us know in the chat. I almost think I can do it because I'm a quilter, but I'm sure there are certain techniques that you need or skills you have to develop to make garments, right? And I'm wondering and hoping that Scorpio is going to join us. Let me see if I can send him a message to remind him. I'm saying right now we are live. Join us. All right, let me copy the link. Hopefully, join us. He will join us. All right, I sent him the link again via social media. Hopefully, he'll come on. So let's see. Not me, mostly because it scares you. Oh, really, Copper? I started sewing by sewing clothing initially because my sisters, they sewed their own clothing and they're 6 years and 7 years older. And I saw them make clothing and I thought I could. So I thought, well, what if I start with something that's kind of like training wheels, like the sweatshirt? And that's what I thought. So I got that pattern, but I never got around to doing it. I've never made time. Yeah, it does sound less daunting. But guess what? Scorpio has a video tutorial on the jacket. And when I watch the video tutorial, it looks easy. Now, of course, a professional makes it look easy, right? So, yes, I guess there's a difference, Sherry, between sewing clothing and being a tailor. I can sew, but is it going to be tailor made to this physique, to this body? Hey, Stephanie, how are you? So you plan on using the sweatshirt method too? Yeah. how many think that they would be willing to work on a jacket uh, together? I've also liked the idea of taking an existing jacket, like a denim jacket, like Sherry is saying, and putting some quilted applique on top. That was another way I thought about how I could make a quilted jacket. So we can make a quilted jacket or coat from a sweatshirt. From an existing jacket, we can take off parts that we want, maybe the sleeves only, and add our own sleeves to the jacket. That's has all the structure. We're just adding sleeves. We can add applique to an existing jacket. So Sherry says she would be interested. Now, would you be interested? What style? Would you like to do a completely from scratch quilt something, whether it be a whole cloth or a pieced quilt, a piece quilt, and then cut it up? What about what a lot of ladies are doing by taking vintage quilts and changing them, reimagining them as a quilted piece? Is that an interest? Which one would you like to do? Oh, hello, Yvonne. So glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. So Rochelle said she's never been interested in clothing or making a jacket, but then again, I wasn't a fan of free motion quilting either, and now she is a free motion quilting um free motion quilter. She loves to do free motion quilting and does a good job at it. Yeah, that's what I thought, Copper. If there's a vintage quilt that's damaged and there's really not much you can do with it, but there's enough to take pieces here, take a piece here, just enough to make something. Well, I can see a lot of people. I don't know if you know, a couple years ago there was a big controversy. It looks like Scorpio is here. All right, let me assign him to guest number 1. Scorpio, can you hear me? Yes. All right. We're going to get you on here. All right, everyone. Here is Scorpio. You are live,
This is a
Scorpio.
nice little setup.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How are you?
Great. I did a little intro about you as a
Okay.
designer, but we want to know more about you. All the ladies love the jacket that you made for me. Really excited about your know
Perfect.
me patterns. And so just introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Scorpio. I have a brand called Sins of Many. Self-taught, I guess you say designer, sewist since 2019. Um, a lot of things were going on in my life at that time, but everything brought me back to tapping into my creative side. So thankful for it. I have like a little slogan I say is like, 2019 during COVID, a lot of people were surviving, but I was thriving in the sense of, I found a true passion of mine, and it's literally, it's been a blessing ever since with the connections and the sewing community and sponsorships, and like it's a blessing. I take it all in stride. So, but I'm happy to be here.
So you are a new sewer. You've only been sewing for a few years.
Yeah, yeah.
Self-taught.
Self-taught, yes.
And tell us about the name of your brand, Sins of Many. What is that? Where does that come
Mm.
from?
Yeah. So, Sins of Many. The idea behind that was it's kind of like an apology to my younger self, right? So, I've always been a creative. I used to be drawing houses and apartment buildings. And then, I was told at one point that architecture was not a thing, that there's no money in it. So I kind of like deviated from it. I just got into sports. So Went to college to play sports, kind of went away from being a creative, but it's always been a passion of mine. So that was why it was so easy for me to make that decision to just jump in, jump right in, not even try and like test the waters. So Sins of Many is kind of like an apology to my younger self for not being bold enough to tap into my creative side and me doing what I really should be doing, which is sewing and designing and bringing garments one of a kind to everyone.
Okay. Now, you and I met where and why? How did we meet?
We met at the Bernina retreat, as we are both part of the 2022 class of Bernina brand ambassadors. And yeah, sometimes people meet for specific reasons. It was a whole weekend. Well, not weekend, but it was a 3 days, right? 3 days.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was a 3 day retreat, and it was that last night at dinner where you came and sat right next to me, and I don't even remember what we ate or conversations going around. I have no idea, but we chopped it up for about a good hour and a half, and yeah, we stayed in touch. Yeah, 1000%, and everything that you said you're gonna do, you did. You put me in touch with a lot of people who I have been like kind of in touch with, but connections were made, and that's all you can ask for. The introductions.
Right, right. So, what I put together a little slideshow to show some of the ladies what you do. Let's
Okay,
take a look at that. So, there he is,
there he
the
goes.
Bernina brand ambassador.
Yes.
And each ambassador gets a sewing machine specific to their brand, their skills, their desire. Tell us about the machine you selected.
Yeah, so I was one of the I now I say lucky ones, but I was one of the lucky ones where they actually reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, would you mind actually trying out two machines?" Because I think I'm one of a few garment designers in the whole group this year. But I said absolutely. I need an overlocker serger. I wanted one plus the L735. I already told them that I wanted to get in touch with embroidery as well. So I have the L735 and the B860 overlocker, and just I love them. They are top notch,
Now,
top
we have a
notch.
question from Lori. She wants to know, what was the first sewing machine you learned on? Since you're a new sewer, what was the first
uh-huh.
machine?
Oh, the first machine I ever learned on is still the one I'm using today, and it's a Brothers 64. I can't. It's like a 34 610 DD. It's the beginner brother sewing machine. Like if you go to Google, you type in Brothers machine, it's gonna be that one. It was $189. It was everything I needed, and then I got the beginner Brothers machine serger. Now the serger, that thing was as loud as a tractor. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do not use it. I literally use like an overlock stitch on my brother's sewing machine to finish my hems. Like I cannot. It's like an earthquake with that serger. But I do tell everyone, and to answer your question, you don't need a fancy machine. I'm a testament to that. You just gotta find something that you have to find something that fits your niche or what you do. I was making garments. All I need is a straight stitch. As long as you can go forward, backwards. Like I didn't even have a buttonhole maker. I was doing buttonholes by finessing it using the zigzag stitch and everything. So you don't need nothing fancy. Target, Walmart, you get those $100 ones. I promise you, you'll be 100% okay. It's more about the thread. That's what I will say. You got to get quality thread.
Well, that's really a good tip, that you don't have to start out the gate with expensive equipment. You can start small and then change up as necessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Laurie says
Absolutely.
that you've grown and come very far. Yes, he
Yeah.
has.
Listen, and I'm appreciative of there. I could say I'm honored to say that a lot of my followers have been with me from the jump, and that's summer fall 2019. I think fall of 2019 or winter of 2020 was when I first started putting out. like what I consider wearable art. And I look back at that stuff now because I still have it in my closet. I'm never going to throw them away. I mean, that's, you know, and I look back at it now, I was like, oh my goodness.
Yes.
Like, yikes.
Yeah, that's where
But,
we start. It's good to know the beginnings, and
oh,
that
yeah,
gives us a gauge of how far we've come. And then when you
absolutely.
start teaching others, you can say, "Hey, I started with this small machine and this is what I did, but it helped me to learn and grow as a creator, as a designer."
Absolutely.
So,
If you look on my Instagram, you're gonna see. I mean, if you scroll back, and I've posted it a few times because I need people to understand. Like, you do not need anything fancy. I was on one of those $10 card tables you can get at Walmart, the all black ones that people play spades on, and I had a sewing machine, and then I had that serger, and I mean, bless my girlfriend because I was keeping her up all night with that serger. It was like a tractor machine, and then she basically kicked me out the room. So then I was sewing on my kitchen counter on my island, which wasn't that big, but it's like I I did not have anything fancy. It wasn't until we got this house that I convinced her that, hey, if I buy all the furniture for the house, can we turn one of the bedrooms into my sewing studio? And I thought that was the best thing in the world. And in less than 6 months, I outgrew that. So it's like it's one of those things, but it's a continual process. I am not fancy in anything that I have. These Bernina machines are by far the most expensive things that I have in my sewing studio, and I will treat them delicately. But you do not need it. I'm want y'all to be 100% clear on that.
all right. So now let's look at this is your first pattern, right? Your first printed
Yeah,
pattern. It's in stores. Tell us how this happened. And this is the pattern you used to make my jacket.
yes, ma'am. So yeah, like I said, sewing community. I feel like everything happens for a reason. Um, Going through my sewing journey, I actually took some courses with Sew Academy, which is founded by Mimi G, which most people in the sewing community know is like the DIY queen, and then her husband Norris. And I took courses from them, and I was posting, and I was making sure, like every time I post, I always pay respect to anyone that got me there. If you're inspiration, if you influenced me, or if you gave me some direction, I'll always do it. And I was always pubbing both, Sew Academy, Mimi and Norris, and a year and a half goes by, and we became Instagram friends, and then I was on a couple episodes of Norris's Dope Men Sew podcast, and we began texting, and like, to me they're just people, but to a lot of people they're just like, oh my gosh, you're friends with Mimi and Norris, and I was like, yeah, sure. And then Mimi called me up one day, and she was just like, hey, I don't know what you're doing or what plans you have for sewing, but I have this huge venture, so stay tuned. And then maybe like a month or two later, I got an email. She was like, hey, I'm starting No Me Pattern brand company. It's a company for minorities, made by minorities, and I want you to be in it. And I was just like, hell yes, like yes. Like I didn't even I didn't even read the contracts or anything. I signed on the dotted line because to me it wasn't about the money or anything. It's about spreading my passion to the world. And there are people who've been doing this for 20, 30 years who haven't even sniffed the pattern, or have the opportunity to spread their designs to the masses. And I jumped on it, and the response has been overwhelmingly great. And I feel good because I bring a streetwear element to it. I feel like my style, I call it modern streetwear because it's still like clean, but it's a streetwear element to it. But yeah, I mean the response has been great, and I'm just forever thankful for that.
And I've noticed that you have some different looks for the jacket. You have the waist,
Hmm.
and then you have the 3/4,
Yeah.
which is
So
fantastic. Now,
yeah. So
I
like
think
that's.
go
Oh
ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that I'm excited about making a quilted version of your jacket.
Yeah.
That's on my list.
You and I both. You and I both. I remember I told you, I promised you and everyone there, I was like, I'm gonna make a quilted design for this year, and I think it would look so dope on that jacket. That's like an ode to the jacket itself is like an ode to when I was living in Brooklyn, just walking around and I would see these varsity jackets, but like, you know, you can Google them now. They all kind of look the same. There wasn't a personalized element to it. And so this is like my play on it with like, the drop shoulders and still like color blocking, which is like kind of like my thing. And it's still oversized, but it's still fitted. You can dress it up, you can dress it down, and I like that 3/4 length because if you're a lady and you want to test the waters, you can make that into like a whole jacket dress, put some knee high boots on, you good to go. So, but yeah, I wanted something that was unisex and that people could really, really. You can't say like, oh, it's just for him. A
Right.
female, a lady can make it, and that's what I want to bring to the table.
And you certainly have. And I love how you've tested different fabrics with it. Here's
Oh
another
yeah.
version of it that's completely different. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so this was actually through the Black Sewing Network. They did a January jacket challenge, and they used my pattern because Carmen, who is one of the one of the people involved with Black Sewing Network, she actually I challenged her basically, and because she was doing it, and I was just like, "Yo, let's make it a competition." And you know, it became like a huge thing on TikTok. And like I said, it's just crazy to think about like the number of people that were involved, in the January jacket challenge using my pattern. And like the submissions were coming in and it was crazy. And so I had the whole original design that I was gonna go with. Like I sew really fast. So I was done pretty quick. But then as people started posting theirs, I was like, I was like, okay, well, I gotta scrap that. I said, let me go. I gotta really think about it. And so I had gone to Goodwill, and by at the time, I had been meaning to make a denim jacket because I love denim, but I wanted to do something truly unique. But I was kind of like stunted, mentally. I had a mental block. But then I just thought about it like, oh, this pattern. And I was like, instead of using denim, I can just use the back pockets. So then I had to go back to Goodwill. I had to get more back pockets. And so, like, it was a process. This is probably 30 pairs of jeans worth. Um,
Wow.
yeah. And it was just I cut out the back pockets. Some of them are ripped off because, they're shaded darker underneath. And, out of the 30, I probably used like 20 because, I wanted to make sure I had a nice little color palette with it. And it just worked beautifully. The denim with the leather, and then I made like those ribbed cuffs. I made those myself. That's not like a trim that you bought. Like I bought a navy, I bought a white, I sewn them together, and then I wanted them to be a specific width. So yeah, that jacket is 100% me, 100%.
Wow. Very stylish. I
Thank you.
love the look. How you mentioned earlier that it's modern but this clean look. And in some cases, I look at your designs, especially when I check out your social media feed, I think retro. There's this, especially when you have the larger collars with your new pattern.
Yeah,
I love the
yeah,
your newest pattern that just got released. But before we
yeah.
get to that, let's talk about another style of this same bomber jacket. Let's talk about my jacket.
Oh, love it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's basically, and I loved the video of when you like highlighted it because it told the story so well. And I just want to clear it up for everyone. She did not pay me for this. When you told me the story and you're like QuiltCon, I was like, I would love to. You showed me the fabric first. You told me the story. You showed me the fabric, and I was like, you know what? I really just want to. I would love to make you a jacket. And like your eyes like lit up. You're like, you would do that? I was like, absolutely, like 100%. Because like you said, it's like black creators. Number one, there's so many of us, but that may not be in tune with each other. But like this is just another way for us to network and you know get seen, and you do things for others for the right reasons. You expect the right results to come back to you as well. So. I mean, it was a no brainer. Like in my head, I already knew what I wanted to do. It was just a matter of getting the fabric, and then once you sent it, it was like I had just done that denim one, and I was like, I still want to stay with that denim upcycling trend. So, this is actually an old denim jacket of mine. that I was meant to give away to Goodwill. But then I was like, ooh, let me try it, and I did it, and the rest is history. You killed it. You made it look good.
Well, I love it. When I wore it at QuiltCon, I was being stopped in the hallway, stopped in the escalators. Can I take a picture? Did you make that? Who made it? And I brought my personal copy of your pattern with me.
Ah,
So when they said, "Who made it?" I said, "Scorpio made it. He's the one, he's the designer."
love it, love it, love
I
it,
love
love it.
it. Now, we have a lot of questions coming in the chat. Now,
Fire
I
away.
want ladies to know that you can make this jacket. You can make it quilted, you can make it
Mm,
not quilted. We want to hear your tips that if we do quilt it ahead of time, is there things we should know? If you've never made a jacket before or a quilted jacket, does it matter? But let's just get to some questions. We can talk to a couple of people and see
okay.
what they have. Let's see. In the chat, we have a question from Copper. She says, "What age bracket is your are your followers, and are younger people getting interested in sewing?"
I would say my the age range is probably 25 to 28 and up. Um, that's probably the base of them. But I would say the main is probably 30 to 45. Will probably be that main constituency. Younger people, they are involved, but it's more so. I feel like you have to put something in front of them. Like they'll be like, "Hey, you sewed? That's great. I'm in design school here," and I'm like, "Cool. I never went to design school." You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, yeah. But then if I'm like, "Hey," if someone's like, "Hey, I teach a class. Can you come talk to my kids?" Oh, I mean, they'll ask me questions for hours. But I think that's just also the changing of the times with this generation. They're kind of like short attention span. So if you get them in a classroom setting where they have to be in there for 2 hours, they're going to be engaged. They're going to ask you all the questions, yeah, and so forth. But it's. I'm not going to say it's an older following. It's just people who've actually gone through the process and they are already in it.
Okay, we have a question from Copper. She wants to know about the interior of the jacket. Is it lined?
Yes, fully lined, fully lined.
Fully
Um,
lined. Okay.
so the yeah, the one thing I will say about my pattern is when you're making the pattern, it's going to have the facing. Give me 1 second. When you're making the jacket, you're gonna have the front facing, you're gonna have the lining, and then you're gonna have obviously the front panels and the back panels that you attach at the shoulders, and it's actually the bottom collar, the bottom rib knit at the hem, the waist. That's gonna connect the two. So it's a little bit of inversion that you're gonna have to do, and then you're gonna have to like, yeah, it's a little bit of inversion. You're gonna have to take it through one armhole. It's a whole thing, but yeah, it's fully lined, 100%.
Well, what's great to know is that he has a YouTube video. There's now a new Beautiful Sister
Mm-hmm.
website. And on the website, when you come to the home page, you scroll down, you will see his jacket with the Beautiful Sister fabric. And when you click on Know More,
Mm.
at the top is his tutorial on how to
Ah,
make the bomber jacket. So, what
beautiful.
tips can you give us when we are ready to make our quilted jacket with our bomber jacket with your pattern?
I will say if you're making a quilted version, if you're going to do a quilted version, you have to. So because there's two different versions. So not only is there like a waist length and then a 3/4 length, each version has its own pockets, right? So the waist length one, they're kind of like a 3D pocket where it's kind of obviously it pops out of the jacket, which makes it that streetwear element. And then on the longer version, there's the double welt. I would say for the quilted, if you're gonna make the quilted version, the double welts probably work a lot easier because it's gonna be a lot less time. But if you can, I mean, if you want to stand out, that 3D pockets, when you're doing it, it's gonna look marvelous. It's just that you're gonna probably have to you're probably gonna have to make more uh, than the allotted, you know, yardage for. And then also, I mean, the great thing about quilting is you could literally determine based off of how you're quilting. You know, on the pattern, it has like those the shoulder color blocks on it. You can
Yes.
literally determine how you want that to look without having to make that a separate piece. Because in the pattern, obviously, it's a separate piece. But quilting, you can make that into one whole large piece and then cut out the pieces from there. So you actually have an advantage in my eyes.
An advantage. Okay. Now, a lot of the ladies love that you incorporated the denim. And so
Oh
there,
yeah,
before you came on, there was a discussion about the different options for making a quilted jacket in the quilting world and sewing world. The two, in terms of making quilted jackets, they have patterns where we use a sweatshirt to help get the shape. There's sometimes where they'll go to the thrift store or go to their closet and get an old denim jacket and then apply fabric to it. What tips do you have for those who want to incorporate denim? You did denim in two different ways.
yeah. So for me, denim is one of my favorite. Uh, it's one of my favorite things to work with. I think denim is probably like one of the most engaging things. It can be fitted, it can be stretched, but at the same time, it's always going to have like it's going to look like it has a certain weight to it. Which me being a bigger guy, like I'm already stocky, so I want something that still is going to be able to support my shape, but understands that I want it to look a certain aesthetic. So number one is obviously needles, especially for most sewists. They know you got to have the appropriate needle because leather, not all leather is the same. Your needles will break if you don't have the appropriate needle to handle that fabric. Then I'm just being honest with you. Like I said earlier, I touched on the thread. You got to have the right thread. I don't know now. I don't know how it correlates into the quilting world with the thread. I'm sure y'all do have a thread that y'all could switch in and out. But when it comes to sewing, I mean, you're gonna have to go with the more heavy duty, depending on the weight of the denim. So I mean, those are two really big things. Now, depending on the machine, especially when it comes to sewing and garment making, even though you may not have the most expensive machine, if you do have one of the more basic ones, understand you're not just going to be putting that speed all the way at the top and just running through it. You're going to have to take your time a little bit because, you know, there's a reason why some machines are 2,000 and other machines are less than 200. So,
Okay, now what about sizing? We had a question from Sherry. She says, do you use an existing jacket for the denim accents? That was her question. Did you
oh
use
no.
from
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So like when I made your jacket, I did. But then when I did my jackets on my own, I would just go and I would buy like a half a yard. Um, but that's the beauty of it with you know when you're and I'm sure the same thing with when you're making quilts, you have a bunch of scraps. My thing was I could have used old scraps, but I just didn't have two denim scraps that were the same. But for your jacket that I did use, yes, I had to cut that out of an existing jacket, but you don't have to. Like, I mean, it's you could go to a store, Hobby Lobby, Joann's, and just get a half yard, even less than that. Like, if you're just doing that for the shoulder accent, I think together less than half a yard. I mean, you're good to go. It's not a lot of fabric at all.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So yeah, the video, if you want to preview how the jacket is made, just go to the YouTube channel. It's on your channel as well as the Know Me channel. Is it on both?
Yes, ma'am. And then I'm going to be dropping the spring one on my channel this week. I'm going to be doing a different version of the one that I dropped for the spring pattern. And then in a couple weeks, I want everyone to understand. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be doing a sew along live with the Black Sewing Network, and more than likely, it's going to be on a Saturday, but it's going to be in March. So yeah, everyone could tune in. You get your pattern. Go ahead and get your pattern pieces cut because we want to get that part out the way. But yeah, so long is going to be coming live, and we're going to make some magic happen.
Do you happen to have the pattern with you? No?
No, not with me. No.
Okay. Yeah, I you sent me a photo, but the resolution was too low, so I couldn't share it for his
Oh
new
no.
pattern. Yeah. I was hoping you would
Oh.
be wearing it, but maybe
Yeah.
after the so long we can revisit and have another chat. Or I'm going to I haven't asked you this, and I'm going to ask you
Uh-huh.
publicly. I hope I don't
Okay.
get into trouble. I really want to make a quilted version.
Okay.
And some of these ladies before you came on said that they were interested in making one. Would you
Oh.
do some kind of sew along for your bomber jacket, a quilted version? Would you do that? Would you partner with me to do something like that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, ladies, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Would you like to make his bomber jacket in a quilted version? Let us know in the chat. Do you have any additional questions? Yes, Lori says, yes, please, quilted version. Awesome. Wonderful. Any additional questions for
No.
Scorpio before
Absolutely.
we say Shari is like, yay. Awesome. Fantastic. Georgia says yes. Yes. Lori says she loves you, Scorpio. Awesome. All right, ladies. Well, Scorpio, is there anything else you want to share with everyone about what's coming
No.
up
I
for
mean,
you, where they
let's
can
see.
find
Like I
you on
said,
social media?
the live sew along. Make sure you look out for that. That's on TikTok. Definitely give me a follow on Instagram and on TikTok. It's Sins of Mini on both. You can DM me, ask me any questions. I'm not gonna be one of those people who feel like or act like I'm bigger than y'all because, truth be told, y'all are probably much better technically than I am. So I'm probably gonna be picking your brain. I know you can attest to that. We have great communication. So we've probably shared like 50 emails since January. So, but yeah, definitely. If you have any questions or if you want to collab, I'm all collaboration. I'm all about spreading the goodness of sewing and quilting. And, if it wasn't for that retreat, I would have never thought, quilting was number one, as intricate as it is, but then it's also as joyful as it is. Like, I really enjoyed it on the long arm. So, um, yeah, just hit me up, give me a follow. Let's make some magic happen. Or, if you have any questions, you can ask me.
All right, wonderful. So look for him, Sins of Many, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Follow him everywhere. And we will, in the behind the scenes, Scorpio and I will have a conversation how we can do the quilted bomber jacket together.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
that will be fun. I think that would be a great project. We can do it on our new Bernina machines as Bernina ambassadors. Love that opportunity to work with you. Thank you, Scorpio. Thank you for making my bomber jacket.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I have to say, my sister
Of course.
loves it. She's like, "Can I get one?" I said,
Perfect.
"Well, I don't know." She's in Houston just like you. I said, "I'll have to talk to him and see
Oh,
if
for
we could."
real?
Yeah, she's in Houston. Yeah. Yeah, we have more to
We
talk
can make that
about. I have
happen.
make that happen. You froze. Okay, say that again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. She was so
I said, no,
excited
we can
and
make that
touched.
jacket happen for your sister, of course. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And I want to connect you with my brother. That's another conversation. It all has to do with your passion to reach the youth with sewing. He has some connections that we want to connect you with in the community. So I know you want to teach the youth, and we're all for helping young boys and girls learn how to sew. So
Beautiful,
awesome.
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming on the show. The ladies enjoyed you. Thank you for making my jacket. I can't say thank you enough.
Likewise. Thank you, ladies, for having me, and thank you for having me. Of course, we will keep the conversations going.
All right. Take care, Scorpio.
Bye, y'all.
So, what do you ladies think? Is this just amazing? Quilted jackets. I am always willing and want to learn something new. I'm not a garment sewer, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to take and combine something I know, quilting, and make it into something that I want to learn how to do. And we're going to do that together with Scorpio. Yes, a quilted version. Yes. You are welcome. Yes, what a show we had. Big surprise, right? And my sister Cookie is going to get one. She's going to be so happy. Yes, thank you, Georgia. Yes, thank you, Lori. Yes, it was a fun time getting to know the person who made my bomber jacket. That is soon going to be a quilted jacket. Now, I want to share with you before I sign off tonight a reminder that the Beautiful Sister quilt is now available. The pattern or the quilt block. You can also get, there's not many available, but guess what? You can get some sample fabric. I'm in the middle of designing fabric. I did some pre-orders to see what they look like, and I want to share them with you. So if you go to the Beautiful Sister Quilt website, I have two different things that I'm offering so that you can test. One is a small charm pack with 16 5-inch squares. You get four of each, four of the yellow and teal plaid, four of the pink and teal plaid that's in the My Bomber jacket, and then two other colors. Or you can get four fat quarters. There are limited supplies. There are only four fat quarter kits and only 10 charm pack kits available. So there's only a few available because I didn't order a lot. I'm testing. And if you want to test with me, you can order this one of these kits and make something. And when you make something, you're going to send me pictures and I'm going to share it here at Quilt Conversations Live. So go to the website, see what you would like, either order the quilt or you can look into getting some beautiful sister fabric. Get the quilt block pattern, get the quilt pattern, or get some fabric. All right, this is it for tonight, ladies. Thank you so much. So glad that you were here, Lori, Copper, and those who are watching on the replay. And Cookie, hey, is that my sister Cookie? Is that Cookie Wilkins? Aw, I didn't know you were here. I'm so glad. Oh, and there's my sister. Hopefully that is her, Cookie W. I just noticed that in the chat. Yep. Wonderful. Thank you for saying hello to my sister, my beautiful sister. Yes, your face is everywhere, Cookie. Your face is everywhere, my beautiful sister. It's on quilt blocks, it's on clothing, it's on quilts. All right. And I will see you ladies in 2 weeks. Have a wonderful March. Enjoy your sewing if you're able to sew. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. If you aren't a follower, follow on Facebook. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell so you'll get notified whenever I'm going to go live or I upload a video. All right, ladies, good night. Good night, everyone.